You wake up early, as every morning of your life, ready for work. You take the bus, your car, or plane, with a strong belief that you will pick up incoming calls, write your best speech, close the merge your company needs, that you will build, teach, deliver a package, fix, cook, invest, you name it. But have you ever stopped and thought that whatever you do for a living, no matter how you slice it, you are doing marketing?
I think that is a significant change in the human state.
Some people do stupid things with them, some people do amazing things with them.
Most marketing people spend most of their time in the business of doing business.
And the unconscious, many times we buy something and we're really driven by forces we aren't conscious of ourselves.
Companies and brands are sharing power with consumers. And
because there are just more forces out there that are trying to tear down the image of most companies.
In fact, I think if you're in marketing out there now, get out straight away.
Marketing is changing. Obviously, it is a citizen of the world we live in, a world in flux. Down from the kingdom of its inaccessible yet invisible tower, it is now the layman behind us, next to us, inside each and every one. Yes, maybe marketing, just like information, is getting more democratized day after day. But do you realize what that really means? Have you seized in its full dimension the impact this change has on your work, your choices, your decisions, your career? Really? Haven't you noticed that you can't avoid marketing?
I don't think we do a good enough job understanding the present. We don't do a good enough job understanding how we've changed today.
If you watch how marketing is done and how a new product is launched and all the collateral material and the ads that have to be put out and reaching retailers and then final customers, you'll see a lot of waste. You'll see a lot of committee work, a lot of redoing and so on.
The other thing is we're imprisoned by this word selling, because everyone has bad examples of the telemarketer who calls them at home when they're trying to eat their meal and tries to sell them something. We know about ways in which selling is cheating and lying and stealing. So these bad low-level experiences have given a bad reputation.
Oftentimes, I find people are 10 and 15 years behind the trends. They're operating on a picture in their head of the way society is, rather than how it's really changed.
When marketing had control of the channel, you could develop a marketing plan. But I think now marketing has to become something that is defined by analytics, and I think it's also something that's defined by social participation.
if you buy that basic logic, then increasingly the ways in which consumers are shaping their attitudes, the way in which they are determining their own behaviors with respect to brands, is increasingly being shaped by consumers' interaction with one another.
And so I really believe that the relationship you have with brands comes from the bottom up. It comes from where you were born, your environment, your education, the values of your society. So I think people do respond differently.
So the world of marketing is now going to be much, much closer to a partnership with the people that you want to market to. Will be from the grassroots back up, by being a member of the society of customers rather than somebody marketing straight to them.
In fact, I think if you're in marketing out there now, get out straight away, redefine yourselves. I think consumers are not going to be marketed at anymore.
With this flurry of discussion taking place, it may seem obvious, even naive to believe, to suggest that in this hyper-connected century, somebody could ever elude, live, without the more and the less visible manifestations of marketing. Unless you are a castaway on a remote island, of course, or a coffee harvester in the tropics, maybe a mailman in a city, just giving your best, doing your job, earning your living. Nothing to do with the fancy face of that marketing stuff. And I mean, nothing, right?
Do you know that gets repetitious, that gets boring, that's very static? The alternative is to go to narration and storytelling, where that brand becomes part of your life and you like to know what its history has been and where it is today.
If you start to sell a brick, it's very boring, it's a commodity, it's only worth $1. If instead you sell the dream of creating the perfect home for you and your partner and your family, wow, that's a different emotional promise.
But I realized that we didn't have to speculate about the way, about what tomorrow is going to bring. We didn't have to, just resort to good stories or anecdotes or examples. We actually had sort of, broad statistical evidence that the internet was changing our culture and our economy.
And suddenly the technology isn't in the vehicle, the technology is in you. That's a change in the way all technologies work, and that can happen in homes, that can happen in markets, that can happen in post offices, and that can happen in apartments.
A lot of marketing research is now becoming ethnographic with cameras in the home, and so marketing research is also moving in another direction, which is getting at the emotions and the unconscious. Many times we buy something and we're really driven by forces we aren't conscious of ourselves.
Precisely what you're saying, which is that something can be brought around the world in a matter of seconds. There are no local stories anymore. All stories are global. And it means you're going to need more thought to this, you're going to need more personnel, and you're going to have to do more proactively on your image because there are just more forces out there that are trying to tear down the image of most companies.
And you're waiting for new things to happen. And you're using metaphors, you're using events, you're distributing it through conversations on the internet, and before you know it, the brand becomes a story that you feel is almost personal.
Do I like them? Do I trust them? Do I believe in them? Do I love them?
From customers to voters, from brands to political parties, from manufacturers to craftsmen, from ideas to experiences, retailers to corner shops. Rather than seeing marketing as the label of a particular discipline, we are starting to apprehend, whether you like it or not, its core potential as the essence of any human enterprise, as the engine setting the workforce into motion, as the nutshell enclosing any contemporary picture of business, perhaps the fire beneath the embers of the whole economic system.